All right, welcome everybody around the world. Welcome to all my subscribers. Well, I just came back from watching Disclosure Day. I've been waiting for it for a very long time to come out in theaters, just like everybody else. I was excited to go watch it. I had the opportunity, the day off, to go and watch it. So I went and got my ticket, all excited to come back to the theater a few hours later, sit down and watch what I was hoping would be an amazing movie. I just want to tell everybody this video is going to have spoilers, full blown spoilers and everything. So if you don't want the movie spoiled, then don't watch this review. If you want to go watch the movie, go watch the movie. It's up to you. In all brutal, honest opinion, I am being sincere when I say don't waste your money. Even if you are excited for it, like I was, you're a UFO believer, or you love Spielberg films, don't waste your money. Do not go see it. You will be disappointed and feel like you wasted your money. Okay? So, as you can tell, I did not like the movie. Now, I had all high hopes. I love Steven Spielberg. I love his films. He's probably the best filmmaker that ever lived. I adore his work. He's, stellar at what he does. But, I really had high hopes for this movie. Spielberg had made Close Encounters, which is, you know, enigmatic of a movie as that was, and he made that decades and decades ago. I was really hoping in high hopes that this movie would be like Close Encounters level, but even better because we have all this more modern stuff, and it's the same topic as Third Encounters, Close Encounters. Um, so I was really hoping it to be something like that, but it really wasn't. It wasn't at all. One way I could put it was as follows. This major spoiler is that into the movie, and I don't like looking at clocks during movies, right? I like to immerse myself in the movie, get lost in the time, you know what I mean, and just enjoy the movie, right? And I knew this movie was 2.5 hours, right? So I'm sitting there in the movie, and I'll mention 3 points throughout the movie, right? Out of everything else I could talk about, just mention 3 points. The first point, it felt like it had been about half an hour in. No significant thing had occurred in the movie yet. That's not a major problem. Sometimes movies, if they're 2.5 hours long, you get the first half hour just introduces you to characters, their little backstory, and all the boring stuff. So I was used to that in movies. So I thought, okay, feels like half an hour went by. Probably was or more. But anyways, just mention that the second time I did such a thing, and without having looked at the clock yet to see how much time of the movie had actually transpired, it then felt like it was at a point where I'd been watching for well over an hour, right? And this is a 2.5 hour long movie. So I was venturing, this is probably, venturing to guess, probably about halfway through the movie. At this point here, which was probably halfway through the movie, still nothing significant had occurred yet, which is very disappointing. It was at around this time here. I thought, okay, well, I've waited long enough. I'll go make my bathroom break. So I've been waiting and, waiting and waiting. I didn't want to miss an action scene, and the time waiting for, something significant to occur was just building and building. So I'm like, let me just go do that now. And I went to try and go buy some snacks. Oh, no, the till's closed. We can't sell you snacks. Anyways, I went back to the movie theater, sat back down, and then proceeded to watch again for what felt like another hour. And still, nothing had happened. Nothing significant. I was waiting for aliens. I was waiting for UFOs. I was waiting for all sorts of exciting plot lines like I imagined it would have. Nothing happened. It was at this point here where I'm thinking, I've got to be most of the way through the movie, and nothing's happened yet. Please, So I look at the clock. There was half an hour left of the movie. It had been 2 hours, and nothing had happened yet. I have never been in a movie, and like I said, I love Spielberg, right? I could have made this movie better. And if Spielberg wants to, I would love to work with Spielberg and make another movie. Because if Spielberg, I'm sure he did his best, right? But if this is what Spielberg produced, and I'm not saying this as an insult, I love Spielberg. But if that's what he produced here, I'm not going to say the best, like try to mock him. I could genuinely make a movie 10 trillion times better if I worked with Spielberg. I would love to. Okay? Because I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic or mean here, but sorry, there is half an hour left to the movie. And then something started to occur. Some significant things started to occur. I don't need to sit here and spend time giving away what occurs in the movie, but that is one major point I wanted to make, that nothing significant occurs until the last half hour of the movie. And it's a 2.5 hour movie. The second point I wanted to mention to everybody is like, I've watched a lot of movies, good movies, bad movies in my time. And I have to say, I have never, as far as I can remember, ever been in a movie or been subjected, being, you paid, you feel like you have to sit and watch it. You don't want to waste your money and get up and walk out, but you're just there waiting and waiting and waiting. And then something significant is meant to happen, but like nothing happens after 2 hours. I've never been in a movie like that. It spools you and spools you and spools you up. And you keep thinking, okay, something big is going to happen, something big is going to happen, but it never does. And here is a spoiler. Even by the end of the movie, the credits, and I didn't wait to see if something was at the end of the credits, because at that point there, it was so bad, I didn't bother. And if it waited until after credits to show something significant, then that's pretty sad. That would be an ultimate wasted opportunity. But even at the end of the movie, when the movie finished and the credits rolled, I hate to say it, but nothing significant happened. The whole movie was a complete letdown. Spielberg had so much opportunity, and just myself, and I'm sure everybody else out there, had all these ideas of what we would see on screen, all the cool ideas that could draw from the UFOlogy lore, right? So much opportunity of what could have been in this movie. And I sat there like an eager child, waiting in anticipation with E.T. the Extraterrestrial and Close Encounters of the Third Kind in the back of my mind, and all the other fantastic movies that Spielberg has made. And I sat there in the theater waiting and waiting and waiting. And even at the end of the movie, I feel like nothing of significance happened. The whole movie spools you up. You don't see any aliens until the last half hour. And the amount of alien that you see is so short, it's a few minutes. And what shocks me is that Spielberg has such big budgets that he can work with, that he has worked with, right? And, you know, so many amazing movies I haven't even mentioned yet in this video. He's capable of producing such good stuff, such realistic special effects, whether they're CGI or whether they're, like real world puppetry or anything. There's so much opportunity of what could have been done in this movie, and nothing was done. And during the movie itself, and I'll have to explain, which is a major spoiler, the amount of aliens that you see on screen is literally a fleeting few seconds. A few fleeting seconds of aliens, and that's about it, which is very disappointing. Now, an alien comes out at the end for a big reveal, but that within itself was such a bizarre and just, I don't know what to say at the end, but during the whole movie, like I said, nothing significant happens. It's about two people, or a few people, but it whittles down to two over time. And they keep evading, these secret agent authorities. And that's basically the whole movie. The whole movie is them escaping those people, continually running away. That is what the whole movie is about. There aren't anything to do with aliens. It's about aliens because they're trying to hide these like secret UFO files and videos and pictures, right? One of the main characters. So he has that, and you get a glimpse of a few of them early in the movie. But in the movie itself, there's no aliens. Like you don't get to find, see UFOs at a military base, and none of all that stuff that could have happened happens in this movie. The whole movie is just them running away from like these secret agents to get away, because the agents want to get the material that was stolen. And then at the very end of the movie, major spoiler, this is the pinnacle of the movie. The apex turning point, the apex of the whole movie, what it builds itself up for, is that those secret tapes get played on the news around the world. And that takes place in the last 15 minutes. So the movie itself builds itself up for what is and becomes the last 15 minutes of the movie. And even during those 15 minutes, like, I felt so let down throughout the movie. Like, okay, well, obviously nothing's happening now. There's half an hour left, then 20 minutes left, then 15 minutes left. Okay, we saw a few glimpses of aliens for a few seconds. Okay, nothing's happening yet. We're down to 15 minutes now. Okay, well, at 15 minutes left, Mark. Okay, now at least they're showing the disclosure footage around the world. So I felt like forced to settle for that as a, oh yay. But it's like I waited the whole movie for some really cool stuff to happen and nothing significant happened. But yet it's like, as the audience, we're forced to be like, okay, well, you got nothing else. This is all you got. And yeah, okay, they're going to show it on the news networks, which you figured would occur from moment one of watching the movie, right? And they do. But the sad part is they don't even show you lots of clips. You got like 15 minutes left of the movie. It just becomes a rushed montage. And I don't know why they did this. I was watching the screen for stuff like this, and they would, half the time of that 15 minutes, they were just showing people pressing buttons on the phone. Oh, spread this to this station. There's so much filler like that it occupied what felt like half the 15 minutes. So of the 15 minutes, there was probably only a few minutes of actual, okay, the audience in the movie theater gets to see the disclosure UFO alien footage. It shows you a few for like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or whatever. But it's so sparse, and there's so much filler with like people on phones and pressing buttons that it detracts from the big reveal. So it's like the movie does itself an injustice. And the movie is an injustice to disclosure. The amount of stuff that it could have covered is just flabbergasting, and it didn't cover, compared to what it could have covered, it covered basically nothing. And in the movie, nothing is revealed. There's no twists or turns and, hey, this is the reveal. Nothing until like the last half hour, right? So the first 2 hours are just them running away from authorities perpetually. Okay. There's a lot of really goofy things in this movie. Very cringe, that were so bad. I was just there shaking my head like, this can't be in a movie, let alone a Spielberg movie. Scenes that were just so overacted when absolutely unnecessary. Like the scene itself could have been cut. It wouldn't have made any difference to the movie whatsoever. Nothing. No difference if the scenes were cut. But the scenes are so over dramatically acted that it was just cringe. It was bad. It took me out of the element of what I was watching. It made me think, oh, I'm just in the theater. Okay, why am I here watching this? This is unbearable. Like, this is bad. Cringe bad like that 3 times. It's not that the acting was bad. It was so overacted for what was occurring that it took you right out of the realism. It was just like, okay, they're just actors, and clearly this actress was told to act this intensely, but you as the audience are just like, well, was that really necessary? It sucks to hear the dramatic crying and sobbing and screaming. And I'm looking around at people in the audience and other people, I could hear them mumbling. And it's just, by the end of the movie, I felt bad for myself, but I felt bad for everybody else there, because you had a movie theater with a bunch of people going there. Anybody who is a believer in ufology wants others to believe, right? So you hope going to the movie, okay, maybe some people here are hoping to be enticed about aliens by watching this movie, or inspired to be enticed to start reading up on aliens and whatever, right? To start researching, it. But by the end of the movie, it was so bad that I felt bad for the other people in the movie, because I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, what did I waste my money on? This was a waste of time. It was really, really bad. So like I said, you had some really cringe moments, which in any movie period, you should never have moments that are so bad that it's cringe. But this had a few cringe moments. But again, the biggest letdowns were, where were all the aliens? Where were all the UFOs? All the fantastic special effects that we could have seen? All the interesting plot lines that could have been unveiled, none of it. Just nothing. Just a little 15-minute montage of people calling on phones, pressing buttons, and literally a display of like 100 different montages of clips just playing out at random. You only get to see a few close up. The special effects in those clips, and I mean this no disrespect to Steven Spielberg, but I saw better things in the days of Jurassic Park back in the 1990s. The graphics in this movie were okay, but they were not believable. When you saw the few times you saw aliens, they were so fake. CGI clearly, immediately, observably, this is just fake. It was never plausible. So you wait the entire movie, and near the end, you're like, okay, we're not going to get a big plot line. Nothing big and exciting is going to happen. We're down to the last 15 minutes. We'll just get to see some clips. I mean, okay, it's all fake for Spielberg's movie, so what are we really here to be excited about? Oh, okay, in the movie plot line. Yeah, the plot line. Yeah, I guess we should be excited for the characters in the movie plot line. So you kind of like feign this excitement, like, oh, yay, the footage is being shown, but then you don't even really get to see it. And then when you finally do get to see it and you see some aliens, it's just like that immediately looks fake. And you only see like a few seconds of it. And it's just like, honestly, Steven Spielberg, I don't know. And I'm not saying this to be mocking or comedic, but if this movie had a $1 million budget or a few $1 million, mostly to cover expenses, maybe to pay some actors, there's no way that anybody could convince me that this movie required anything more than a few $1 million for special effects at the most. At the most, like to make the movie a few $1 million, like because so little, nothing, like nothing happens, like so little happens, it's virtually nothing. What was the budget? I don't know what the budget was, but like nobody could convince me that this was a high budget movie. This to me is like what you would see on TV when they have a really small budget and they're like, okay, well, we can't really do much with special effects. It's like when you watch those low grade movies, it's like, okay, it's got aliens in it. Okay, well, we're only going to see them for like 10 seconds in the movie. The whole special effects budget, it's going to be those 10 seconds alien footage. You watch it and it still looks bad because it's a B movie. This is what Disclosure Day was like. By today's standards, what we saw of the aliens in this movie was really bad and subpar. And I'm just being brutally honest. It really, really was. And in fact, at the start of the movie, when you get to see like one of like a few seconds of some of the clips, like you get shown a little bit at the start, then you don't get to see anything else really until the end, right? Um, so at the start, when the guy shows this girl some of the clips, you see this alien getting like injected in this like government lab, and the alien like screams. It looks like a gray, and it's from like camera footage in the room looking down. I'm sorry, but again, that looked so fake CGI, immediately recognizably fake, that it really threw me out of the element early on in the movie. And I was like, okay, okay, I'll let it off. Let's just hope that the rest of the stuff doesn't look that bad. But it did. And we actually saw more of that alien. That was some of the most that we see in the movie of an alien. Just to give you an example, it was an alien on a bed. You saw it loosely for a few seconds as it moved around. Like, even at the end, by the time you put together all the clips of any alien that you see, they're only for like a few seconds each, and none of them are like up close. None of them are intense. None of them are realistic. And there's not that many of them. Um, the one or two UFO clips, you have to wait until the montage in the last 15 minutes to see. You don't see any UFOs throughout the movie, which shocked me. Nothing at any point. I thought at least at some point a UFO come down and abduct somebody or something. Nothing with UFOs, nothing. The only UFOs you see are in like two clips in the montage in the last 15 minutes, right? And when you look at them, they look fake. They don't even look real. They look like something you'd see on TV. They don't even look like really good CGI. There are video games that have better graphics than that. And I'm not trying to be condescending, I'm just being brutally honest. They looked really fake. And I was really surprised and shocked at how bad the movie was. Like it was such a letdown on so many levels. So much that they could have done in the movie plot wise that they never did. To do with aliens, to do with all sorts of things, and they never did anything. Like I said, 2 hours of the movie is about two people continually running away from agents. That's literally basically the entire thing for 2 hours, just nonstop, right? Um, all anything significant happens in the last half hour. This is something like you. That's the pattern that you get in like a B movie. I just don't understand. Like, was this movie made with like $5 million budget? And Spielberg was like, okay, I'll just make a movie about disclosure, just the disclosure process, because really that's what this movie was about. It wasn't like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was about contacting aliens. It wasn't about ET the extraterrestrial, which was about an extraterrestrial here on Earth. No, it wasn't about any of that. The only thing this movie was about people trying to get some UFO tapes out onto a news network. It took 2.5 hours for them to do it, and you only get to see it for about 10-15 minutes at the end. That's literally what the movie is. And I'm shocked because how is that a movie? It doesn't feel like a movie. It's just it's like I don't know what you call it. It feels like I watched a web podcast made by a group of kids, like in college, where they didn't have to have any scenes of big UFOs coming down and aliens walking out and going up close to the camera. It was just like people running away from people and talking to people. But the other thing that I had a problem with, and this is spoilers, the only alien device type thing in the whole movie was this little object that the good guys and the bad guys have at times. And I got to get going, so I'm going to rush. But it brings me to a point where, yeah, the objects could have been cool, and the way they used it and this and that, it was made to be interesting and cool, but they overplayed its use. It had a particular usage in the movie that they overplayed. It had to do with the remote viewing, like how they would hack into people and see where they are to track them down, like the secret authorities would. So they had this alien device and they would use it for that. But it became too cheesy and with no explanation at any point in the movie, even by its end, that when they have the alien device, when the bad guys have the alien device and they're remote hacking, like remote viewing a person, a target, their target victim, if that victim feels pain, it somehow discombobulates the connection, and the bad guy trying to do the remote viewing feels pain and suffers. There's no explanation for why, but it evidently occurs. And for no reason at all in the movie, this girl who's religious stabs her crucifix through her hand to break the connection. Seemingly unnecessary. She could have hurt herself a number of other ways. Why do it that way? It's just very strange. And then she stabs herself with a knife in the same spot later in the movie. There's many other ways you could hurt yourself and break it, but there's no explanation given as to why she had to do that or how she would even know that she had to do that in order to break it, because nobody knows anything about the device. There's so much that's not explained in the movie. By the end of the movie, nothing is explained, okay, besides a few paltry things. In one part of the movie, throughout the movie, you see this stage of this house being put together and you don't know what it's about. By the end of the movie, in the last half hour, where anything significant starts to happen, you see that one of the bad guys, one of the secret agents who's a good guy, is trying to help one of the main characters and brings her to this secret warehouse location that inside they're using the device as invisibility cloaking technology. It becomes so weird and wacky and far out that it's just like ridiculous. But they're inside the hangar and it's all invisible. You can't see it because they have the device and it uses invisibility. But inside there, they built a replica of the lady's house. And they made it into a very emotional time where she's like remembering memories of her childhood and all this. And yeah, it's because she got abducted as a child. And that's like one of the only alien scenes you see. And you don't even see any aliens in it. You see some alien fingers. Right? Okay, that's like the only interesting alien UFOlogy related scene basically that we got in the movie. It lasted a couple minutes long, and it's like, meh, okay, there's better stuff in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Infinitely better stuff in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Infinitely better levels of stuff. But that's all you get in this movie. But then it's just like they had to build the house to instigate her remembering a memory from her childhood about her being abducted, so that when she holds the device, she can remember that she was an abductee. Like, Why would a member of the government, secret organization, build a replica of her house? This one random person. No explanations given to her being special or anything else. She's just a contactee, one of probably millions in the world, the news anchor lady. Why would they go through the expense of replicating her house simply to help cause her to remember something better? It doesn't make any sense. It's so impractical and unnecessary that it took me out of the element of the realism of the movie. It's just ridiculous. It's like a dumb idea that somebody had when writing the script, and they just put it into the movie. And it's just like, why? What's the point of this? There's a bunch of times. And the only cool alien device in the movie was that little handheld device, and they only use it for some simple, boring things, going invisible. It's like Harry Potter level stuff, and a few other meager things. I mean, the whole movie was full of wasted opportunity to do so much more, and I don't know why the movie was made like this. Is It's literally just about two people escaping authorities for 2 hours to finally release the tapes, which you only get to see in the last 15 minutes, as brief spurts on the screen, and they don't even look real or convincing in the slightest degree. So the whole movie's a letdown. And the biggest spoiler is you get to see an alien full on at the very end of the movie for absolutely no reason and with absolutely no explanation. When in Disney movies, and they had some Disney moments in the movie with animals coming to windows and birds talking to people or singing to people, that type of thing, where it was just so unnecessary. And yeah, maybe some abductees have talked about things with owls and deers and this and that, but seeing it in this movie, the way it was done was like you're watching a Disney child's movie. And it's like, this has no place. And it's like an insult to UFOlogy, because yeah, I know some people do it. It's the way it was portrayed in this movie. It came across like you're watching a Disney cartoon, like you're watching Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and it really, really was. And it was just a bit ridiculous. Things are built up and spooled up in this movie, and at no point, even at the end credits, is any explanation given for anything. You don't know why this news anchor lady, really why she's important at all. You find out she was an abductee by the end of the movie. Okay, wow. So you're telling me the big reveal in this movie was that she's an abductee? Like that please tell me that was not the big reveal for this movie. Like that is not a big reveal. You know what I mean? Her and the other main character are both abductees. They got abducted together when they were little kids. Ooh, that's not a big reveal. That's like meh. You know what I mean? Like breadcrumbs, dry breadcrumbs, like nothing. Like just I don't know. I want to make sure that because I'm not making another video on this. What other things? But I say, oh, the alien at the end. So they're finally showing all the footage on the news networks, and like you would see in a Disney movie, which is why I mentioned that other problem I had with it, is that in similar Disney movie fashion, at the end, in the last 15 minutes, is everything works out for everybody. The big bad guy who's been chasing them for 2 hours, who's tried killing them, has I think killed people in the movie in chasing them, has tried to get one of the main characters to kill the other main character by mind control and a butcher knife. He's been relentlessly chasing them. Finally, at the end, when they've been downloading the tapes and they're starting to stream across the world on the news network, he's busted into the news agency. They set off a bomb and shut down the power twice. But at the end, the lady gets the power going by holding the device, and all the power restores magically, like in a Disney movie. How convenient. Very end of the movie, no explanation given for how or why or that the device can do this, but just magically she can pick up the device and magically restore all the generators that they blew up with bombs and make the power get restored to the building, and then start streaming the footages to around the world, all the news networks. Then you see other news anchors do some really bad acting where they're trying to cry while looking at the footage of the crashed aliens, and it's just like, why are you crying? This wouldn't make anybody cry. It was really out of place. And again, it broke me out of the realism of the movie and took me out of the element. It was so bad that it was cringe seeing this news anchor get minutes on screen crying when what she was seeing is like, okay, yeah, this is stuff we've been waiting for years to see in disclosure. This is not going to make us cry. Nothing about this make you cry. You can't be crying for the aliens because you're only seeing them for a few seconds on the screen. What would make you cry about them? They look very unhuman. Wouldn't you be shocked and scared as well at how unhuman they look? No, you're just going to cry because some unfortunately grotesque looking, foreign looking creature looks injured on the ground. It's alive, but it's injured and it's going to make you cry. No, I don't think so. It was just very out of place to see the news anchor crying and get so much screen time for it. And it just throws you out of the element at the very end of the movie when you're trying to force yourself to enjoy the little meager pinnacle that you got at the end of the movie, the little climax of everybody getting to see the footage. And it's at that point that the big bad guy of the whole movie, he busts into the studio. You think he's going to shoot the news anchor lady or something to stop her breaking and leaking the footage to the world. But what does he do? For no explanation, no verbal wordage. He just facially, I give up, sits on the chair and watches her give disclosure. Disney moment. No explanation. Just, okay, it's convenient now. I give up. No, he could have stopped her. He could have, but he didn't. He just gave up. Okay, fine. Everybody got to see the disclosure footage. But like that ruined the disclosure footage. You know what I mean? They didn't have to go and find them at the building and bomb the building and all that to add suspense. You could add some suspense another way, right? And they could have tried to interrupt the footage but gotten thrown off. But no, they tried to stop it before it started airing. They blew up the generators. The backup generators started working and airing the footage. Then they, attacked the backup generators. Then they have no power to air the footage to the world. Then the bad guy shows up. He's like, the girl picks up the device, magically restores power to the building. It starts playing, and the bad guy's like, okay, well, no, I just spent 2 hours this whole movie chasing the girl, but now, I just give up. And it's just so improbable. But it's at that point, that's the hinge point where it's like, okay, now you're going to get to see the climax of the movie, all the footage that we waited for, which is a very boring climax within itself, script wise. And what we got to see was very boring as well, right? But you ruin that climax by doing that deflation point immediately prior to the climax. So at the very, very end, like a cherry on top, I guess somebody in the studio was like, hey, at this point here, let's give the audience a full-blown bodied alien. So they bring out somebody in a wheelchair, like Stephen Hawking, with this little like dome over them of plastic, like umbrella type thing. Unzip it, pull out an alien. It's like, well, he's got no goggles or safety equipment on. So I guess he doesn't have a problem breathing our air. So why did you have to bring him out with this thing covering him like a opaque umbrella, like plastic thing to protect him? Makes no sense. No explanation for it. You don't know why the alien's being brought out. You don't hear anybody present on screen say, hey, let's go give them an alien to see. She's at a news network in the middle of a city and has been showing footage for a few minutes. And all of a sudden, somebody of the authorities, good or bad side, has said, hey, let's ship in an alien in a wheelchair to show to the world in this news network studio in the middle of a city. So you know, with no explanation, the door opens and they wheel out this alien in a wheelchair. And you're like, well, that's convenient. Where did the alien come from? You're not told. They're like, okay, well, so like 5 minutes left to the movie, so I might as well appreciate that we get to see an alien. But the only problem is that the alien looks terrible. It doesn't even look like a gray. It looks different. It has jowls. The eyes are positioned different. It doesn't even look like a gray, and the special effects are bad. It looks immediately, observably looks fake, and at no point does it look real. I have done more realistic, genuinely more realistic, lifelike photos of aliens using AI. I've created myself. I have tons of them. They look lifelike. In this movie, it wasn't even to that level, and I'm a nobody using software that anybody could use, right? Why did Steven Spielberg do this to us? How could he? Why did he? Why did he waste such a prime opportunity, right? We get this alien, and it's not even a gray. I mean, it showed grays in the movie. Why not show one at the end? Why show something different? It's like a gray, but it's not correct, right? And the head was a little bit too big, and it was a bit taller than us. And it's just like, And it comes up to the lady and like touches her, and there's like a little ET moment, but no explanation for anything. Maybe it's the alien that abducted her when she was a child. Okay, fine. But is that really the crux of the movie? Is the movie by Steven Spielberg really supposed to, evidently it must be, is it really just a movie about two characters fleeing authorities because they want to get disclosure tapes to a news network? That is the overall script of the movie. That is all that ever happens is contained within that statement. And at the end of the movie, they get the disclosure material to a news network. That is all that happens. There's no scenes and events that pertain to UFOs in the movie itself, right? Just when they give some flashbacks of her life, right? Nothing in the movie itself. So I'm just blown away and speechless. And I'm very late where I got to go. Oh, surprised to see you here, man. Oh, wow. Okay. But yeah, so that's my rant about the movie. I'm very disappointed. Um, I'm just very disappointed. It's kind of an injustice to UFOlogy and disclosure because there's so much that could. There were some things that were talked about in the movie, which are things that occurred in real life, and I appreciate that much. There were some little nuggets in there, but with this 2.5 hour movie, and you have to wait till the end for that. With the 2.5 hours of movie, there's so much more that could have been done. That's my point. That just didn't happen. That's the biggest drawback for me, and that's really all I wanted to say. So that's why I'm saying it's a wasted opportunity. It's a good movie as a thriller, action, adventure, suspense, two people fleeing authorities movie. That's kind of like what it is for the whole movie, with 15 minutes of some alien stuff at the end, right? That's really what it was like. It was the strangest paced movie that I've ever been subjected to. Even bad movies that I've watched can still have normal pacing. But this movie is spool, spool, spool you up for everything. And then by the time the end comes and you're looking at the last, like every minute of the last 30 minutes, and you're waiting for that spooling to pay off, for the climax to occur. And it's just like you never get it. That's what I feel like with this. And you just have questions that are unanswered at the end of it. Okay, they gave the disclosure to the world. What happens then? You don't know. The movie ends. They didn't show a scene of people living peacefully with aliens or getting better technology, kids celebrating with like a PS5 million at Christmas. No, nothing like that. It's just okay. Yeah, I got seen on the footage on the news around the world. Okay, here's the end credits, folks. You know what I mean? So much opportunity, and then they wheel Stephen Hawking, the alien, off stage, take him off to wherever he came from, who knows where, and that's it. That's it. That's the end. You don't get any further explanation to why this girl was important, why the guy was important. No explanation for so many things that took place in the movie. Does it leave itself for a sequel? Well, because of how bad the movie was, there's no way that they would even be thinking of doing a sequel for that. I think all Spielberg must have had in mind to achieve with this movie was a movie about people trying to get disclosure tapes out to a news network. And that's all he wanted to do. And that's all he did. That's basically it. And the elements of them being abducted as children are so irrelevant to the movie and what takes place in the movie. And all the things, if they wanted it to be relevant, there's so many things they could have put in the movie as plots, which they just didn't. That the elements of the two people being abducted when they're kids is virtually irrelevant to the movie. They had some minor things that occurred because of that. But overall, there's so much, again, wasted opportunity that it's just like, it's almost of no effect compared to what they could have done and made, their abductions in youth be more, the alien abductions when they were kids. They could have made it far more relevant and prevalent with things different and better things occurring in scenes, not such lame like meh. Okay, yeah, meh. That's what it was like, meh. Anyways, take care, folks. God bless. And Steven Spielberg, I love you. I know you can do better. If you want to make a better alien movie, just contact me. I'll be more than happy to work with you, to give you ideas and all of that there. Because I can tell you, You did a lot better than this movie, and you would have made a lot more money, and you would have had a lot more people happy in UFOlogy with the end resultant product that they got. I can promise you and guarantee you that I could get you a movie, okay, that would really blow minds and expectations. Disclosure Day was not. It was like a balloon you get for your birthday, and it's all sparkly and pretty, and you're like, oh yay! And then as soon as you touch it, it just deflates and fizzles up. Like that's what it felt like. But anyways, take care, folks, and God bless you all.